Hi, good morning to the comrades from Americas and good afternoon to people in Europe and Africa, and good evening to comrades joining us from Asia. Thank you very much really for joining us today in this first workshop for the new chapter, the transport chapter, towards public transport and accessible transport for all. We're very pleased to kickstart this first conversation with Dr. Tolga Toran from the University of Kassel, but originally from Turkey, in a case study that is a bit different from the other case studies that we have had, in that we have a union of public sector transport workers that does not just engage to protect the jobs in the particular railway station, but is actually engaged in a broader struggle for preservation of public space and against just gentrification plans of the Erdogan government. So really happy to have you, Tolga, with us today, and really thank you so much for the excellent video lecture, which people have also expressed lots of appreciation for. So Tolga, perhaps for us it'll be important, I mean, although we always tell our workshop participants to please watch the video lectures before you actually join the course, I think it may be important. People may have watched it at different points in time. So it may be helpful if you could just provide us with some of the key highlights of this case study for about 8 to 9 minutes, and then we open up for discussion. So thanks again, Tolga.
Yeah, dear colleagues, first of all, thank you very much for organizing such workshops and inviting me and for joining, actually. It's a big pleasure to be together with you. And also for the chance to record the video lecture of the Haydarpaşa long-term resistance of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform in Turkey against a very big urban transformation project or gentrification project. As Edlira mentioned, I'm gonna show some photos to you as well. As Edlira mentioned, it's not a typical trade union struggle in the workplace, for instance, in one sense, but at the same time, it's a struggle to protect the workplace as a public space. But the struggle is much more than this, actually. It's a narrative of the long-term resistance led by the trade union against the gentrification project, which aimed to transform the historic Haydarpaşa railway station and its surrounding 1 million square meter port area into a gallery of skyscrapers, luxury apartments, shopping malls, etc. So, and the station building and the surrounding area, 1 million square meter area, they are very important not only for Turkey's transport industry or workers' transport needs, but also for the collective memory of the country. And the project, the gentrification project, would also lead to the expulsion of the workers working in the building or living in the nearby workers' neighborhoods from the center of the city to the periphery of the city. And the project was started or was declared in 2004. Then in 2005, the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform was established. In other words, the project, the gentrification project, led to a strong resistance, which started with the formation of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform. Haydarpaşa is the name of the building. Haydarpaşa, the project led to a strong resistance, which started with the formation of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform under the leadership of the United Transport Workers Union, with the participation of 70 different organizations, including NGOs, uh, uh, civil society organizations, and different trade unions being organized in different sectors, or citizen initiatives, whatever, 70, more than 70 organizations. Also, and the motto of the resistance was, Haydarpaşa is a railway station and it will remain a railway station. Since the formation of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform under the leadership of BTS, United Transport Workers Union, they carried out very creative, different forms of collective actions, like petition campaigns being organized in a short time and collecting more than 20,000 signatures to protect the railway station as a public space being used with public transport aims. Some legal actions to have the station building and its surroundings recognized as a protected area, and they succeeded. Or massive press conferences organized as breakfast meetings, festivals, theater, dance activities, concerts, poetry readings, etc. So therefore, under the leadership of the BTS, the United Transport Workers Union, the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform used not only traditional forms of collective action, but they made almost all type of arts functional to make the struggle more public, more visible, more popular, and they succeeded actually. Also, they were very successful in bringing together like experts, citizens, civil society organizations, scholars, academics from universities, many organizations of architectures, etc., or urban planners, whatever. They succeeded to bring different type of expert organizations together, and in 2022, the government had to declare that the building and the surrounding 1 million square meter port area would be used with public purposes. So I don't want to turn I don't want to use the term they succeeded, because the process still complex, they still struggle, but at least we know that the Haydarpaşa railway station and the surrounding area now is a public space. As I pointed out, in 2022, the government declared that the station would resume its public transport function, not of course with the same capacity as before, and so they had a partly gain. Actually, what's important for the struggle, for the 20-year struggle, first of all, as I pointed out, the long-term resistance was sustained by a broad-based movement of activists, press, academics, as I pointed out, experts, whatever, or professional organizations. So by that way, the solidarity reached out to a wide range of social segments using a combination of creative forms of action, etc., as I pointed out. And the coalition helped to ground and expand the critique and mobilization against the gentrification project in terms of labor rights, public transport, environment, urbanism, whatever. Here, I would like to refer one text, a short text being published by a social movement researcher, Mohammed Bamye. In the text, Mohammed Bamye, when he analyzed the Occupy movement or social movements that we witnessed after the financial crisis of 2008, Mohammed Bamye discusses some common features of the protest movements that we witnessed in the global scale. And one of the common features of the global protest culture is the fact that he points out that the protest movements are, in general, suspicious of traditional political parties or organizations in traditional sense, including trade unions, which means, in general, as we witness in general as well, the so-called social movements in general have distance with traditional or conventional worker organizations, trade unions. They try to separate in general themselves from the traditional trade union movements. Also, however, in the case of Haydarpaşa, the struggles itself, the movements itself, has many typical characteristics of the social movements. Like they occupied a public space, they use different forms of collective action by being totally different from traditional trade union demonstrations, for instance. However, even if they have the Haydarpaşa Solidarity platform, has many characteristics of the social movements, what is important is to see that the organizer or the leader of the whole process since 2005 is a typical traditional trade union, BTS, United Transport Workers Union. This is, according to me, this is one of the most important aspects of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity platform, I would say. Therefore, although the Solidarity was founded with the leading role of a traditional trade union, the struggle since 2005 provided a space to overcome the divisions between the traditional labor organizations and other social movements. This is, according to me, one of the most important aspects of the struggle to protect the Haydarpaşa railway station. So I guess I should stop maybe here.
Yes,
let's
yeah,
to have a couple of maybe questions.
Yeah, I think let's provide a bit of space for questions, especially because really our hope is that everybody has watched your video lecture in advance, and that we will use this as an opportunity for actually making questions to Tolga and comments, also deepen our learning about this case study. So who would like to go first? You can raise your hands or you can put the question in the mailbox, and please another call to turn on the cameras if that's possible for you. Yes, Ian.
You kind of basically mentioned the question. I was trying to figure out what was the main strategy to hold such a broad coalition of organization together with so many varying views. Is it the focus was on the commonality of a particular issue, or how was that achieved?
Edlia, should I collect the questions, or
why don't you go with this question, and then we also give people a bit of time to gather their thoughts and make a question.
Okay, yeah, actually, as I pointed out, actually it will be published as a working paper soon. Of course, there are many different details in the working paper. It's, I guess, around 30 pages. So because of the time limit, I cannot explain all the details. But First of all, the Haydarpaşa railway station is located in Istanbul, and it's also a very important hub to connect the European side of Istanbul to the Anatolian side, not only of Istanbul, of Turkey. So therefore, it's very important for the national transportation first. Second, it's also very important for Istanbul's transportation. And the third one, it's really an important public space in people's memory, actually, in terms of collective memory. It's very important, especially in the 16th, during the 16th. Almost every Turkish movies was showing the immigrant workers coming from Anatolian cities to Istanbul and facing first time with the sea in front of the Haydarpaşa railway station, because the trains coming from Anatolian cities, the Haydarpaşa is the last stop. And you face the sea first time in your life, etc. It's very important. Therefore, first of all, the United Transport Workers Union, of course, was totally aware of this fact. First of all, the importance of the space for the collective memory of the people. This is important to bring many different organizations together, because even personally, individually, even for me, Haydarpaşa is really important. When I was writing my PhD, I was going to see the building. I was smoking, then turning back. It's very important for the collective memory, and this fact created a big legitimacy, first of all, to reach different type of organizations, not only to the trade unions, but citizen organizations, NGOs, expert, professional organizations, etc. First of all, the trade union was aware of the legitimacy and importance of the building. They used this opportunity very successfully, first of all. Second, the union tried to use some internal channels to get information about the project. Actually, the project, the gentrification project, was not declared to the public, actually, but by using some internal channels, the trade union succeeded to get some information about what will happen to the building. So therefore, the network, internal network of the trade union played a significant role to get information on the project. Then, and also, as I pointed out, the building is very important for the national and cities transport. By using all the 3 points, they tried to reach different type of, they tried to mobilize different type of organizations. They didn't limit themselves with the typical trade union organizations. They tried to bring together experts, academics, etc. They mobilized different parts of societies. I guess it was the main strategy.
Thanks very much, Tolga. Kevin, would you like to make your question now?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Mr. Tolga, for this lecture. Luckily, I've gone through your script and all your lecture. I want just to share something with you. First, it's a fight. It's a fight to preserve something historical, and it has been said rightly that in 2014, the UNESCO World Heritage Monument was decorated at the railway of Haydarpaşa. So, bringing in development, Mauritius, a long time back, had railway links. So we had railway in our country. So today, all those stations has been preserved. This has phased out like 100 years or maybe more maybe more. But in the recent 2 years, we had the opportunity to introduce in our country the Metro Express, which is the LRT. It's a tram. It goes up to 80 kilometers per hour. I would like just to make a similarity. There in Turkey, you thought to preserve a landmark, which is a building which has some sort of historical attachment to it. That's why there were people who fought for that. So people gathered, wrote petitions and all that. Here in Mauritius also, when we tried to bring in this development, so we had to make space. Eventually, we didn't have all that because of the routes that has to be planned and all that. And being a small country, we had to safeguard most of the houses because the link passed on the route passed on inhabited lands where people were residing, and also, if I say like something which is historical to us was our plants. You see, we had gardens which had been there, trees which have been there since 200 years, like 100 years, 300 years. So these peoples, being, we are also a little bit like ecologists. So we preserve this, we fight for having more and more afforestation because we just don't want to go. Yes, we want to go on to development, but we also want to preserve those landmarks also. But what happened in Mauritius was that, like the same case in Turkey, here the people raised their voice for not cutting the trees. But eventually what happened was that the government come with a solution. Instead of not going with the project, to make another option, that is to start planting and make a recreational park, an alternative for that.
Okay, thanks a lot. Actually, first of all, the project should be discussed in a broader framework because since the beginning of the AKP government in Turkey, the term mega projects is very important, very key to understand what's going on in Turkey. They, in order to create capital accumulation opportunities for the private sector in Turkey, they use like gentrification projects, urban transformation projects, or they invest in infrastructural projects by outsourcing the process to the private sector. As I pointed out, Haydarpaşa is very important for collective memory, for transport, etc. Actually, the Haydarpaşa project, the gentrification project, first of all, the historic railway station is located in a neighborhood, and if the project was completed, the neighborhood would be, first of all, very luxury, very upper class neighborhood, which means that workers, wage earners, students, inhabitants of the neighborhood would never have a chance to spend their times there. So therefore, it was a kind of, indirectly maybe, it was a privatization of a public space by exposing the workers, the wage earners from the neighborhood. Also, as I pointed out, Haydarpaşa should be discussed in a broader framework because it was a mega project, and Haydarpaşa project had a complementary project, which was Marmaray Tube, a tube project passing under the Marmara Sea by connecting the two sides of Istanbul through a tube under the Marmara Sea. So the tube project, it is a huge project creating big capital accumulation opportunities for capital, and also it was not safe. The Marmaray Tube, according to the experts, it was not a safe project in terms of environment, etc. And also, Haydarpaşa is located in the center of Istanbul. The government decided to build another railway station, which was totally outside of the city. But according to the experts, the railway station buildings should be in the center. It should be reachable by the people, etc. Therefore, the people were easily convinced to protect Istanbul, to not the building but the public transport, because Haydarpaşa is central for the trains reaching Istanbul, or for suburban trains, and many people are using the suburban trains from the Haydarpaşa station. Therefore, because of the functionality of the building, not only because of the importance in terms of the collective memory, but the building was really functional. You can reach from the building to the other side of the Istanbul by taking some boats in 15 minutes. So the building was really functional for the transport industry. So therefore, there were a couple of elements convincing the people to the idea of protecting the Haydarpaşa railway station.
Thank you very much, Tolga. I think you are also speaking to some of the questions that Ahmadou has made in the chat box, but we can come back to that.
Okay.
Would you like to make the question? You've been raising your hand for a bit of time.
Let me see. Okay, chat. Hello, Tim.
It's okay. We take for Celine.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon for you all. I really enjoyed the union strategy implicated in the process, especially the synergy developed by the union with many actors to protect the railway station. But I have a question, and I sent also another question. I will ask only one question. So that given that the resistance has borne fruit with the government's agreement to restore public transport, can you tell us if the travel costs are now affordable? Can you tell us if the travel costs are now affordable?
By the term travel cost, you mean?
Yes, what I mean is that after the resistance, you have fruit. And this fruit is that in 2022, the government, with an agreement, restored the public transport in the railway station of this Haydarpaşa. And now the question is that, is the travel costs are now affordable? Because I suppose that with the closing of the railway station, many people had to take other ways to move. Okay. So now, what is?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, the railway station is still not in use as a railway station, because there are some renovations, because during the process some historical archaeological findings were found, and therefore there's a big renovation now. But even if the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform resisted to keep the building and the surrounding area as a public space, and also they combined their struggle for the public space with a struggle for better public services. In that sense, of course, the travel costs, etc., were also included. But the main point was not travel costs. Again, I would like to underline that the BTS, the trade union, the United Transport Workers Union, have been struggling for a long time against the privatization of railways, against unionization in the public transport sector, etc. They have been struggling for a long time for cheaper, affordable public transport services. But in that sense, Haydarpaşa is a specific case, but very important against, for instance, the privatization of transport sector, because deregulation, deregulation, some attempts for the privatization of the railways in Turkey, and Marmaray Tube project, they went, and the gentrification of the Haydarpaşa and the surrounding. All this process, the privatization of some parts of the railways in Turkey, deregulation, unionization, all these processes went hand in hand with what happened to the Haydarpaşa railway station. Therefore, to struggle for the Haydarpaşa railway station and its surrounding was also automatically a struggle for better public services, actually. But the prices, for instance, were not in the center, indirectly, because if the Haydarpaşa is sold, it in the future it will mean that, okay, we succeeded from the perspective of the government and the capital. Okay, we succeeded in the Haydarpaşa railway station. Now we can go more with the privatization of some other parts of the railways, etc. Therefore, it is a part of the struggle to protect the Haydarpaşa railway station, is a part of long-term resistance against neoliberalization, marketization, deregulation of the railway transport in Turkey. But I wouldn't say the transport costs are in the center. But for instance, in 2012 and 13, the suburban trains reaching the Haydarpaşa railway station from surrounding cities or from the neighborhoods of Istanbul, the suburban trains were stopped because of some renovation processes in the building, and it was really a big difficulty for the workers using or for the students, for the workers using the suburban trains as main transport element.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tolga. Perhaps we could pick up on the questions, the important questions that Ahmadou has made. And Ahmadou, do you want to read it yourself?
Edli, I see a couple of questions in the chat. Should I answer them?
I'm just asking Ahmadou if he wants to read his own question.
But I see one person, Ebenezer, raising hand.
Yeah, but let's take because Ahmadou has been making the question longer. So please, do you want to do that question?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tolga. My English is no good. I'm Francophone. So the question is what kind of lesson or advice you can give for other trade union about your experiences?
Mhm.
And what strategy also if you see your video or documents PDF, you saw that the university was mobilized, academics. So it is no, in our country it is not majority. The mobilization of university to help trade union, it is not majority. No. So what was your strategy to mobilize the academic, the university, and what lesson you can give us? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I have already read. Yeah, first of all, from my side, about the lessons, I would say the importance of going beyond the workplace to be able to come together with the other elements of the society. The first lesson, I would say, is that the importance of going beyond the workplace issue. Second, for instance, during the 19th, there were some discussions on the social movement unionism, etc. By going beyond the workplace, by trying to come together not only in the sphere of the production but also in the sphere of the reproduction, etc. I guess in general, the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform, but in particular, BTS, the United Transport Workers Union, I guess, succeeded to show very important, very good experience of social movement unionism, I guess. They didn't limit themselves with the workplace, but also at the same time, even if the historic railway station, it's a building, it's historic, okay, but at the same time, the building is their workplace. They work in the building at the same time. Therefore, they succeeded to combine what is important for workplace and also what is important for the society. They successfully combine different aspects of the struggle, I would say. Second, they were really, I would like to add, can I share some photos?
Yeah, we could, but I'm just also mindful of the time. We have at least two more people wanting to say something and a few in the chat box. So perhaps we try to wrap up this one so we can get some more questions.
Okay, when I speak, actually, I can at the same time show. So therefore, the lessons, the importance of going beyond workplace, and also they used trade union strategies of traditional trade union movement, but they also used different strategies of social movements. So therefore, they successfully combined different traditions of social mobilization. They successfully combined different methods of two different social mobilization, social movements and trade unions. I guess since the beginning, the second question, strategies used to engage researchers, as I point out, in the beginning, they got informed about the project by using some internal trade union channels. But then they shared all the information with firstly with the Istanbul Chamber of Architects. So then in the second step, they quickly came together with the Istanbul Chamber of Architects. They mobilized many different organizations. For instance, when I conducted some interviews with some people being involved in the struggle, some of them were experts, and I asked the question that what was the importance of BTS? I asked the question to the expert, to the urban planners or architects in the struggle. They told me that, okay, we were aware of the fact that how the Haydarpaşa railway station is important for the city, etc. But because of the fact that we are experts, functionality of something is the first point for us. But they said, the transport union, the BTS, showed us the social aspect of a building. They directed us to think about the social aspect of the question they are struggling for. Therefore, I guess for the many NGOs, many expert organizations, the traditional, even if it's the traditional trade union, they created very big space for the other organizations to think about the social aspect of the building, the transport industry, etc. This was another aspect I would like to underline.
Perhaps we wrap it up, Tolga, just to make
okay.
sure that we have a few more people asking questions. Because we have Michael. Michael, would you like to make your question? There are some questions in the chat box. I'm going to summarize them and put them to you since we have only 15 minutes. Michael, please, your floor for you.
Okay. Thank you, Elira. Thank you, everyone. I am Michael Boka from Côte d'Ivoire, and I greatly appreciate your contribution. And this is a fine example for us to build a strong and large coalition for this kind of struggle. But my concern is concerning women and youth engagement in this coalition. What was mobilization rates of women and young people, whether at the front of the struggle or at the back? And also, were gender issue important during this struggle? This is what I would like to know.
Tolga, shall I perhaps make also the other questions, or do you want to respond to this shortly and then we take the other ones that are in the chat box? There are some interesting questions.
Yeah, I see one from Agnes Mukami.
Yeah, there are several. So why don't you respond quickly to this one and then I take the other questions?
Okay, sure. Should I answer the...
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Actually, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, first of all, I conducted the research on the Haydarpaşa struggle from Germany, but I know that they also published a couple of books about the importance of Haydarpaşa, about the struggle, etc. They published two editorial books, and in one of the books, there's a narrative of how women contributed to the struggle, and also not only for the BTS, and also the other member organizations of the Haydarpaşa Solidarity Platform. Gender issue is always one of the most important aspects of a struggle, of a social struggle, and I know that women or some women organizations played an important role to protect the Haydarpaşa. It's same for the young organizations, etc. I would say. Therefore, gender, especially the gender point, was always in mind. I know that. Second, another question: what, according to you, would have been the outcome Do you want to?
If you are done with responding to the question by Michael, I can perhaps put two questions together. The first one is from Agnes from Kenya. I think the first part of the question is you talk a lot about these more innovative forms of action. But could you mention what were some traditional forms of action that were actually discussed? So that's the first part of the question. And the second one is, what's the impact on workers right now, since you're saying that the train station is still not operational? And if you can elaborate a bit on that question. And let me take also the very important question of Jordan here. Because always when these plans come, there are also ways of fragmenting the working class and pitting workers against each other. So in this particular case, were there unions that saw a potential? So let's say construction workers union, were these unions interested to have the mega project instead because it would have provided jobs for them? So could you speak a bit to that, to these two main questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Edra and the Jordan. Huh? Yeah.
Yes, Agnes and Jordan.
Yeah, Agnes. Thank you very much. Yeah, first of all, as I pointed out, the Haydarpaşa struggle since the beginning of 2000s went hand in hand with the struggle against the deregulations, privatization, outsourcing, deunionization in the industry, etc. Therefore, the BTS, the United Transport Workers Union, they had to always combine their typical struggle with the Haydarpaşa struggle, because when they are bringing when the union is bringing together the 70 organizations from different fields, they were always struggling with the other issues. Because, as I pointed out, the term mega project or the mega projects are very key since the beginning of AKP's government in Turkey. They are always trying to create capital accumulation opportunities for the capitalist class. Therefore, Haydarpaşa is one of the most important mega projects in Turkey, and BTS always tried to combine its traditional struggle in the workplace against deunionization, against political pressures on their members, etc., with the Haydarpaşa struggle. Therefore, they always, of course, use traditional methods, but again, the Haydarpaşa is a specific case. Publicly, they tried to bring different strategies together by not excluding the traditional methods, I would say. Workers' conditions, as I pointed out, again, I would like to underline the same point. Haydarpaşa project was declared in 2004, and after this period, there were many attempts to privatize some parts, to outsource, to deunionize, etc. Therefore, the BTS, as I pointed out again, was always struggling with all these kind of processes. They were always combined. Regarding the positions of the workers in terms of mega projects, actually, a couple of years ago, one of the biggest resistances in the last couple of years in Turkey was conducted by the workers being employed in the work site of the Grand Istanbul Airport. Because, yes, the government is using the discourse of development when they want to advertise how the mega projects are important for development of Turkey, etc. In fact, the working conditions of the workers being employed in these mega projects are really terrible. Therefore, especially in the work site of the Grand Istanbul Airport, there was a big resistance by the workers working in different subcontractors, because the airport was built, of course, by relying on outsourcing with many subcontractors, etc. Therefore, I wouldn't say that working class suffered if we are not speaking about pro-government yellow trade unions. In general, the working class doesn't support, of course, the mega projects, not only in terms of environment, but in terms of working conditions in these mega projects. Actually, they are being employed without trade union right, with outsourcing, etc., etc.
Thank you very much. Agnes, was the response satisfactory, or do you have any follow-up question to that? Something that...
It is.
Okay, that's great. There was also a question from Bello earlier on, Tolga, and perhaps also as a way of wrapping up. So his question is, can these strategies be employed in other transportation services? And I suppose by that he means, Bello, correct me if I'm wrong, he means these broad coalitions that were actually employed in this particular case. And perhaps related to that, as a way of also concluding, Tolga, could you tell us something? I think you mentioned, but could you tell us something about how important was the BTS in making sure that the struggle continued for so long? Because I think that's the major challenge that is being faced by the different movements. How do you sustain over time? So how important was a trade union with organizational structures and power, the staying power to actually sustain? It's impossible to repeat the same scenario twice, but do you think it would have been possible to resist for so long without the presence, the central presence of trade unions, of the labor movement in this struggle? So I think perhaps that would be the two last questions to also wrap the discussion.
Maybe I can give my answer by combining the two questions, because we have almost 5 minutes. Actually, in the last couple of years, or since the beginning of 2000s, we witnessed, as Beverly Silver describes, we witnessed labor unrest in different parts of the world. But in some parts of the world, we witness the unrest in the form of so-called social movements, which try to differ itself from traditional trade union movement. But in some other parts of the world, like in India, for instance, in the last couple of years, we witness labor unrest in typical traditional trade union way, etc. So the social movements in general, they focus on commodification process, and the traditional trade union movement in general focuses on the production process, or the question of exploitation. What I believe is that we cannot separate the production process, or the process of the creation of surplus value. We cannot separate this process from the process of commodification. Therefore, what I believe is that new type of trade union strategy, as much as possible, of course, should try to combine different aspects of the process of accumulation of capital. Sometimes you need to focus on the circulation process again, by being against commodification, or by firstly focusing on commodification, but sometimes you have to focus on the production or the surplus value process, etc. Therefore, what the BTS tried to do is very important as a trade union strategy, actually, trying to go beyond workplace, trying to create a legitimacy in the society with the logic of the importance of public, the term public, the space, public space, etc., or public transport, public services, etc. Therefore, it was, I believe that it was really important and successful trade union strategy, because they also, as I pointed out, they are really typical, traditional, conventional trade union being organized in the workplace using different ways of traditional trade union movement, etc. They, in this struggle, they succeeded to, of course, to be organized in traditional trade union way, to get informed by using trade union networks, etc. They used many elements of typical trade union strategies. So we cannot leave these strategies, of course, but at the same time, they try to go beyond. It was very important and very successful. The situation of the Haydarpaşa railway station and the surrounding area is still complicated because the government is always trying to find some new strategies. And against these strategies, the labor also should also be creative as much as possible, I believe. Therefore, it was important strategy and it was successful strategy, I would say.
So perhaps in also responding to Bella's question, you would recommend actually that that's what labor does.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This is why I said important and they succeeded, of course. Sure.
We have only 1 minute. If anybody has a burning question to make it in 10 seconds, then we will give Tolga 60 seconds to respond. Is there any such question? I hope I didn't miss anything in the chat. And meanwhile, Ibn, yes, please. But 10 seconds.
10 seconds. What is the future? What is the future of Haidar? What is the future? Thank you. Of the railway system.
Could you please write to the chat, Ebenezer?
It's a bit difficult to understand. What is what?
I couldn't clearly hear, actually.
Yeah, write it in the chat.
Future.
Oh, the future. What is the future?
Yes.
Future of?
The railway system, the current railway system in
the rail
Turkey.
System in Turkey of Haydarpaşa.
Yeah, there are some, of course, there are some plans by the government to deregulate, to privatize, but I guess it will depend on the struggle. Who has better strategies, I guess, and the struggle is continuing, I guess.
Yeah, the struggle continues. I think that's perhaps the best way to also close this workshop for today. Thanks very much, Tolga, for bringing also more theoretical discussion into the debate today, which is really, really helpful, and in particular about really bringing the conversation about the importance of combining struggles in both the sphere of production and reproduction, and how the struggle against exploitation is so interrelated to the struggles against commodification, including that of public space. And then perhaps also to recall the history of the labor movement, that it has been always about taking part of the economy and our society outside of the capitalist logic of exploitation. So there is nothing new in a sense, but because that has been the traditional struggles of labor, and that is kind of echoing the same struggle. So really, really thank you very much. Thank you for your questions and comments and participation. And tomorrow we meet for the second workshop in another interesting case study from the Philippines about the trade unions and labor's mobilization against the modernization program of the government there. So please do watch the video lecture in advance so we can have a meaningful discussion like today. Thanks again, Tolga, and everyone. Take care and have a lovely week ahead.